Hey, this is Rachel and Stacy from the Decoding Couples podcast. We hired Adam to help us market our podcast and leverage our brand in order to gain sponsors and partnerships. He was able to help us create a fantastic idea around a membership program and also helped us streamline our recording process. With Adam's help, we were able to get our membership community up and running within 2 months. We have successfully locked in our first podcast sponsor and generally feel more confident in how we market ourselves and talk about our podcasts. 10 out of 10 recommend. Thank you, Adam.
Are you a frustrated podcaster that is ready to stop hearing crickets and start making money with your show, even if you have a small audience? If you answered yes, then I want to connect with you for a free podcast profit potential discovery call. In this free 20-minute session, I'll analyze where you're currently leaving money on the table when it comes to monetization opportunities for selling more of your own programs, products, and services. If you are a service provider, a coach, or an online program creator looking to use your podcast to generate more sales, the Podcast Profit Potential Discovery Call is for you. Hop on my calendar today by going to www.podcastingbusiness.school. What's up, Pod Pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you are listening to Podcasting Business School. It's the show where I teach podcasters how to love their podcast like a hobby and build it like a business. Today, we're talking about 3 online marketing goals that I think podcasters really need to be dialed in on right now. All right. And I'm sure you've heard the saying 1,000 true fans. And that's something I really believe in. That's something I've built my business upon, is finding the 1,000 of those people out there like you all that are into what I'm saying. They're into my brand. They are people that could potentially be clients and customers. They're people that follow me on social media. They're people that want to engage with me and with my content. So really dialing in on this concept, especially in the podcasting niche, because as podcasters, we see on social media and we hear on podcasts and we kind of make assumptions that people are just growing these enormous audiences in order to be able to build an online business, in order to be able to get clients and customers for your programs, products, and services. And I'm here to tell you that that's not necessarily true. It doesn't take as many people as you think. So today I want to dial in on curating an audience of your 1,000 true fans and really setting that micro goal. I know a lot of you have giant, big brand building goals, and 1,000 doesn't seem like that much. But in the same sense, those same people are not making money and you're not getting clients and you're not getting traction, and you're probably beating yourself up over the lack of growth that you're seeing with your business and with your show and with your brand. All right. So today we're going to focus on 3 zones for building your 1,000 true fans. We're going to talk about your email list. We're going to talk about social media platform, and we're going to talk about your podcast. All right. So putting 1,000 people on your email list is a big deal. I'm going to celebrate that. Some of you are way past that, but many, many, many are not. Many, many, many have 0 on your email list because you haven't put any effort into that yet. I think that's a very important focus point. The social media channel, I think we have to figure out where we want to be, where our people are at, and how we can show up and grow a social media channel or 2 above that 1,000 true fan mark. And then with podcast downloads per episode, if you can get to that 1,000 downloads per episode within your niche, you're going to be a top 20% podcaster. All right. Only 20% of podcasts can say they get 1,000 downloads per episode. So if you can even get close to that, especially if you have a smaller niche, you're going to be doing really, really well. All right. So let's look at each one of these segments where we're going to build 1,000 true fans, and let's dial in on some strategies a little bit. So I'm not just going to tell you what they are. I just told you what they are. Let's dive into how we could potentially make this happen. What focus points we need to dial in with to make this 1,000 true fan thing actually happen. And this isn't the only way. This is just my thoughts on how I've done this. All right. So with a 1,000 person email list, I think there are a couple important things to focus in on. One, you got to get that first lead magnet out there. You have to get a lead magnet out there. You have to promote it on your show, on your social media. You got to get it. It's, if you go on other people's podcasts, you really need to lean in and start building that email list. And there are a couple different types of lead magnets that have worked really well for me. The first one is what I call a quick win lead magnet. That's like my podcast growth scorecard. All right. I call that a quick win lead magnet because it can just be downloaded en masse. Like there's no limitation to how many people can show up and participate. I can have 10,000 people sign up for that lead magnet in one day, and I can handle that. So like a downloadable checklist, a evergreen online course, mini course, those are all quick win lead magnets. So my podcast growth scorecard, it's obviously focused on the pain point of podcast growth. It helps people get organized with their podcast episode marketing, and it delivers a quick win. Like you're going to feel some momentum from that. So that's one type of lead magnet that's worked really well for me for building my list. But I also like using what I call an audience connection lead magnet. This is like my coaching style episodes, the podcast audits, my community style episodes, my Pod Pal Zoom parties, free challenges, free boot camps. This is where it's kind of time sensitive. Like with the podcast audit, there can only be one person on there. Pod Pal Zoom parties, it's usually like 10 or 15 people on there. Challenges, we can get a lot of people in there, maybe 100, 200 people in there, but it's still kind of a time sensitive. There's a start and there's a stop. You got to be there. I can't have just anybody, anytime, anywhere opt in and do that. So it's a little bit of a slower build, but it's like a gold star email list subscriber. When you get people that want to come on the show, that want to do a podcast audit, that want to do a free challenge, they want to interact with you. So we want to thicken up our email list and use that to build it up as well. So, and we're talking about not just 1,000 people on our list, we're talking about 1,000 true fans. So a lot of times what you'll see happen is somebody will download your quick win lead magnet. Maybe you promote it on as a call to action on your podcast. Somebody downloads your quick win downloadable thing. They start doing that. Now they're kind of on your email list and they hear about, oh, there's this free challenge, or, oh, they're offering a free online coaching session on their podcast. They'll take that next step. And now they're a little bit of a warmer lead, and a lot of those people will transform into becoming your clients. And at a minimum, they're leveled up as one of your 1,000 true fans because they're having multiple touch points with having really positive experiences and working with you. All right. Now, one other quick note on the 1,000 true fans on the email list. I think it's really, really important to communicate with your email list in a non-marketing fashion every single week. I do a weekly newsletter. It's my Thursday love letter to my email list subscribers that I write in real time. I don't use AI. I just write it to you all. I drop tips, and I send that out every single Thursday. And I'll promote something if it needs to be promoted, if I'm like, have an open card or something that's brand new. But the purpose of that isn't to sell, and it's not to promote. It's to educate and engage with you all. And I think it's a huge mistake if the only time you ever email your list is if you're trying to sell something. So I'm a big fan of kind of keeping that finger on the pulse, really connecting with your audience on a weekly basis, not just with the podcast, which you all know I'm very passionate about, like weekly episodes there, but also a weekly newsletter. I've been doing a weekly newsletter since I had 7 subscribers on my email list. A lot of people were like, I'm going to wait till I get to 100 and then I'm going to start doing the newsletter. I'm like, I started with 7 and my open rate still sucked. So that was there was a learning curve with that, Pod Pals. But I think you have to develop that muscle early on and just be like, I know this is a good thing. I know it's going to work. I need to develop this muscle a little bit, get better at writing, email copy. And boy, some of my first newsletters were terrible. Like not just some, like a lot. And I'm thankful that only 7 people were on my list, because as it grew, I got better. And now that, my list isn't huge, it's like 2,600 and something people, but I'm a much better newsletter copywriter because I just write from my heart. Like I figured out that's the method that worked for me. I couldn't use some template from somebody else. I can't use AI. I just write what's on my mind, what's on my heart, what I need to communicate to you every single Thursday. And that's the method that works for me. And it took me a while to figure that out. So don't wait to start doing a weekly newsletter. Start doing it now. Start building that muscle. Start figuring it out now while the list is small and or non-existent. Get a few subscribers and start communicating with them. Because again, if you wait till you get to 100, wait till you get to 500, people are going to drop off because they're not hearing from you. And they're not getting value. They don't see any value from being on your list. And those unsubscribes are going to start happening, especially if all of a sudden you just start promoting something out of the blue. All right. Those unsubscribes will happen. So start building that muscle early. All right, that's my quick action steps and notes from the 1,000 true fans on our email list. Let's talk about social media. This is tricky, and like we all have that love-hate relationship with social media, and things change so fast. I'm in a really unique slash weird spot with social media right now because there's certain things that I really enjoy doing that I could do easily on social media. And like Instagram had been my focus platform. It was working really, really well. And all of a sudden it's like, for whatever reason, algorithm, whatever, content shifts and like growth is really stalled, engagement is really stalled. My IG and my email lists are very comparable. They're always in that like within like 100 of each other. So I'm in that like 2,600 followers on Instagram. And I've started looking like, okay, I got to look at some other platforms. So I've been experimenting. I'm in more of an experimental mode right now where, okay, let's see what works on TikTok. Let's see what works on LinkedIn again. Let's see what works on YouTube Shorts, even Facebook. My God, I've even started posting on Facebook again. So I'm pretty experimental. So one of the tips that I've got for people is figure out what social media channel you need to focus on. So I'm a huge fan of focusing on 1 to 2, but every once in a while, you got to get out there and throw some fishing lines in the water and go, okay, am I missing out on some easy engagement, some easy listener acquisition opportunities? Can I be out there building my 1,000 true fans and these other ponds of social media that I need to be fishing in? So I'm kind of in that mode right now. But we got to figure out what type of content works for the platforms that we want to really focus on and what gets a response from your audience. So Threads is going really well for me right now. And I know a lot of you are enjoying Threads on, the Instagram app Threads. And I figured out like, all right, video stuff doesn't work. I love creating videos, like face to camera videos, no problem. All day long. Going live, no problem. All day long. Neither of those works on Threads. So, but I like just sharing random thoughts, and that does work on Threads. I like taking little polls of like, how long are your podcast episodes, and giving people some options and engaging and having little conversations around that. And the thing I love about Threads is I can search hashtags that are related to podcasting, and I can dive into conversations and add value. And I'm scooping up listeners just by not even posting my own native content, but from engaging in other people's conversations or answering their questions. Okay, take note of that. And you don't have to do videos. It's just text. Like, let's just type some stuff, drop some knowledge, and I don't want to go on a Threads rant here, but I think if you could spend 5 to 10 minutes a day searching hashtags that are relevant to your niche on Threads and just adding value, I think you're going to get some new listeners. I would challenge you to explore that idea. So when it comes to, once we do find our social media focus channel or channels, I think we got to be consistent with our content, like be content machines, but also at the same time be flexible and willing to pivot with the platform changes. Just like I am right now. I'm like, all right, what I'm currently doing is not working and I got to pivot. I got to figure it out and I need to be flexible with what I'm doing. So one of my buddies, Scott Carson, he's really, he's killing it on LinkedIn. He kind of pulled me aside, showed me a few things. My client, Brenda Miller, same thing. She's like, you really need to get active on LinkedIn. So I'm doing these like daily tip videos, face to camera, 60 seconds or less. I'm posting it as a LinkedIn video, usually on Facebook, sometimes on Instagram, sometimes not. They don't work really well on Instagram, and YouTube Shorts and TikTok. And I'm kind of just running an experiment where, Monday through Friday, I'm putting these 60-second or less tips out there, and I'm getting some pretty good engagement on several of these platforms. So I think, but social media is the platform, is the area of building our 1,000 true fans, where it's like we got to just be flexible. And once we find something that does work, we lock in and get ultra consistent with that until it stops working, and then we have to pump our brakes and go, okay, let's figure out what is working here. Now, regardless, my overall game plan when it comes to social media, when a new episode is released, my number one recommendation is my 72-hour promotion rule. So when a new episode drops, within 72 hours, let's uniquely promote that episode in 5 different ways, 5 unique ways. Not 5 different platforms, but 5 unique ways. And you can share that on as many platforms as you like. So just think about that. All right, let's go on to the final 1,000 true fan category when it comes to online marketing goals that we want to set for ourselves. And that is 1,000 downloads per episode with our podcast. And like I said before, this isn't easy. And the thing about podcast growth that a lot of podcasters fail to understand when they're getting into the game is that, I mean, I'll just say it, you can't go viral on a podcast. Like, even if you are on a giant show, even if you have a giant guest, you're still not going to go viral. Like, you're not going to just scoop up millions of people all of a sudden. It's just not, I've never, ever seen it happen. I've been doing this since 2015. It's a sweat and, getting in the trenches and sweat equity game. You got to put in the reps. You got to put in your time. You have to put in time figuring it out and just making mistakes and screwing it up and fixing it and tweaking it. And those that just stick with it tend to eventually figure it out. And obviously that's a big part of what I'm doing here with Podcasting Business School and this brand is to help you hit the fast forward button and all this stuff. So if you're new, welcome, and you're in the right place. Just know that. So when I'm, working with my Download Growth Club members or doing individual consulting on download growth specifically, we look at 3 specific areas for growth. We look at organic discoverability, we look at effort-based marketing, and we look at paid marketing. All right. So with organic discoverability, we're looking at how discoverable is the name of your show, first off. And you guys have heard me talk about just look at any of my podcast audit episodes. It's almost comical. I pretty much tell everybody they need to at least add a title extension, if not change the name of their show. And it's very common. So lots of examples there. But when I read the name of your show, I want to know what it's about. I want to know who it's for. I want at least 2 very searchable, highly searched keywords in the name of your podcast. If we can make the first word of the name of your podcast one of those giant keywords, bonus points. Huge, big deal. All right. So organic discoverability is all about the name of the show and keywords. We're looking at the host description and keywords there. And then we're looking at your individual episode titles and using keywords there. And that's going to help you be more organically discoverable. When somebody goes on the search bar on Apple or Spotify, you're more likely to show up. And this is the tough conversations I have with people where they're like, but I want the name of my show to be the same as the name of my book or the name of my website URL or the name of my Instagram handle. And I'm like, that's fine. If you want brand continuity, I get that, but it's not going to work as a podcast. And I'll one up my stance on that and say it'll be the number one reason why people don't find your show if you try to follow that strategy. If, unless it follows my other formula. Like if your website name follows the 3 rules that I mentioned earlier, then you're good to go. But if not, your podcast is not going to be found. And it's all going to be effort-based, and effort-based marketing is hard. So let's dive into that. Effort-based marketing is the 72-hour rule that we just talked about on social media. It is getting yourself booked on other people's podcasts, using a guesting strategy. It's all the effort-based stuff, the posting on TikTok, the live streaming, the email marketing, the newsletter marketing. All that is just putting in effort, putting in reps. All right. But it is a part of growing our show. Then the third bucket that we really look at is the paid marketing. There's Instagram ads, there's Facebook ads. More people are coming into the space there, trying to help podcasters out. I still think Megan Shields, Chime House Media is the best in the business. She's got it dialed in and figured out. She's helping a lot of podcasters. So shout out to her. She's been on a previous episode of the show talking about her Facebook and Instagram ad strategies, and they really work. And they do work, but my favorite platform still to do paid marketing on is podcast player apps. Just doing banner ads on podcast player apps. People are listening on Overcast FM. Shout out to anybody that is listening on Overcast FM. You probably found me because you saw my Podcasting Business School banner pop up on a business show or a news show or sports show that you were listening to. And you're like, oh, that looks interesting. You clicked on it, you hit that follow button, and now you're listening. So that's how it works. And those are very cost effective, easy to do. And I love marketing my show to people listening actively to a podcast. Like that's my ideal listener right there. So when it comes to building a strategy to achieve 1,000 downloads per episode, obviously there's a lot more steps within these different buckets that we could dive into, but this would be a very, very long episode. This would be like a hardcore history episode, like 6 to 8 hours. But if you really look at these three areas of podcast growth, you go, all right, how's my organic discoverability game right now? Am I following Adam's rules? Yes or no? How's my effort-based marketing game right now? Am I following the 72-hour promotion rule? Set a goal for yourself on guesting on other people's shows. One per month, great starting goal. If you can get on 12 podcasts per year, great starting goal. Then go to one per week, for a month. That's another next step, great goal. And all of a sudden, you do enough guesting, your show is really going to start growing, as long as you're being effective and efficient with how you promote your show or your lead magnet or whatever when you are guesting, and that you're showing up and being a great guest. That's also very important. And then look at your paid marketing. So many podcasters are out there like, can't spend any money until I start making money. I'm like, is that how business works? Because I don't remember it working that way. First month that I'm building my online business, I invested $2,000 in Brendan Burchard's Experts Academy course because I had to figure out how the hell to build an online business. Like, I couldn't just make it manifest out of the ether and be like, now I have the knowledge I've acquired. I've consulted the elders on Mount Podcast. Like that didn't happen for me. Maybe it happened for you. It didn't happen for me. So you got to pay a little, you got to invest a little bit and go, all right, let's look at this Overcast ad thing. I have so many people that join Download Growth Club. I'm like, hey, let's go the organic discoverability dialed in. Let's get your effort-based marketing plan dialed in. Next step, let's buy like a $200 or $150 podcast addict ad or a Overcast FM ad, and they'll double their downloads. Like, okay, our foundation is in place. Now we're working towards that 1,000 true fan status. All right. So Pod Pals, I appreciate you being one of my 1,000 true fans, and lots of exciting things coming down the pipeline here. I appreciate you supporting the brand. Keep your ear to the ground on something. I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag a little bit here. I'm gonna be doing a 20-person beta group for my brand new online business academy for podcasters. It's going to be the only online business academy that's solely like podcast centric, podcaster focused. So if you're a podcaster wanting to build an online business platform, you've got a few of the pieces, but you need to like, okay, I don't have an email list. I don't know how to do email funnels. I don't have my offers dialed in. I don't know how to sell or do discovery calls. All that's going to be taught within the academy. I'm going to do beta pricing for 20 people. I'm probably going to send an email out at some point in the next week or so saying, hey, who wants in the beta group? So make sure your ear is to the ground on social media and on the email, and you can get in on that. So I just mentioned that because a lot of things we covered here today are things that we're going to really work on inside that academy. All right. I appreciate you all. I'm going to send you out into the world wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. I will see you next time. Attention all coaches, service providers, and online program creators. You are probably leaving money on the table when it comes to your podcasting business, and I'm going to help you uncover those missed opportunities. Get signed up for a free podcast profit potential discovery call today by going to www.podcastingbusiness.school. That's podcastingbusiness.school.